On the Linux side, we have a partnership with a vendor called TuxCare. TuxCare does an excellent job of keeping up on the Linux market. The Linux market, as many of you know, is a little bit more nebulous than the Windows or even the Apple kind of platforms as far as how well things are documented and how they roll out. A lot of times Linux takes a lot longer to kind of distribute down through all the different distributions because we're dealing with open source. Some of these are more actively maintained than others. Some have a stronger security focus than others. So that's where things get a little bit challenging at times. We have asked TuxCare to give us kind of the what should people be watching for at any given time and get kind of a few key nuggets of here's the top things or the things that should be top of mind for you. This month, the first one of these is kind of more of an end of life awareness. Again, Linux platforms may have more chance of like end of life components or older aging components in them than your other platforms, depending on how maintained it is. In this case, the first one here, CVE 2025-24070, is a vulnerability in the .NET framework. And that is on all platforms, Linux and Windows. The mitigation here, the thing to call out, and the concern from the Linux side is there's a lot more cases of older .NET versions out there. Your vulnerability scanners may or may not detect these vulnerabilities on the .NET 6 side, depending on if they're doing detection for things that are end of life. Microsoft did not document anything as end of life there because technically that .NET 6 is end of life, so they didn't really update anything new for it. But if you are still running .NET 6, this vulnerability is applicable in that case. .NET 7 is also exposed to this vulnerability, but it will not be patched in that version. So no official patches for this vulnerability will occur for 6 or 7. You need to move forward to newer .NET versions to resolve this. So kind of more of a awareness if you do have older .NET versions. They are now accumulating security risk, and you do want to look at how do you mitigate or remove those from your environment. Next is CVE 2025-24813. This is a vulnerability in Tomcat running on any Linux distributions. So it doesn't matter what distro you're on. If you're running Tomcat on there, this is definitely a vulnerability you want to be concerned about. Score on this is a 9.8. So guidance here, they give the version information on what Tomcat versions you need to be up to be resolved. So you can see here the 11, 10, and 9 branches all have a version that will resolve this. But the vulnerability in this case is definitely a high score, given how prevalent and well-known line of business apps are running Tomcat. This one could be fairly pervasive, so definitely a concern and one that threat actors will probably take a look at. So that is our Linux lineup.